Rest is not a sign of laziness. Rest is a sign of rejuvenation. And in order to be on a battlefield and set in the fight, at the end of the round, you go sit in the ring. You go sit down. At the end of the round, you go sit in the corner for a minute or two, you catch your breath, and then you get some coaching and you go back in, right? And I think sometimes we operate in life like we're in the fight, but we never take a break. We never get no coaching. We never take time to take a moment to get perspective. We're just kind of like, I'm going to just go 12 rounds right to go, back to back, no break. And I think we sometimes may think that that's the way that we should do it. And I don't know that that's always the best way, you know? Well, we're here at the library, the New York Public Library. This is the big branch, and then the smaller branch across the street. My name is Ashanti, and welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast, where men get real. Men of all ages and backgrounds come to this space to talk about the masks that we feel sometimes forced to wear. The front of the mask are the things that we gladly let the world see, and the back of the mask are the things that we don't usually talk much about. Actually, let me give you a little update, because you probably can hear a lot of the background noise. I'm on location today here from New York City. As you can see, I'm here in front of the New York Public Library. We had a busy week of mask making around the East Coast, starting off in North Carolina, and now here in New York, getting ready for a launch of a mentor's book. Today's guest is Jamarria Hall. He's a social entrepreneur, philanthropist, an advocate, and an activist for equitable education. Hall led a group of students in 2016 to sue the city of Detroit for unfair educational practices, and to make sure that under the Constitution, that students got access to their rights regardless of their zip code. They won that case. His age is young, but his wisdom is large, and the things that he's been through fighting for the lives of others. He has a motto that he lives by that says, if one of us is not free, then all of us is not free. And he is working tirelessly for those who don't have access. And I'm really proud of the work that he's doing. I got to have this amazing conversation with him. We got to meet 2 times. You'll hear us talk about where we met in the show. But today I just wanted to just be here on location, because I'm not in the home studio, just to make sure that this intro, that you hear the words of a young man who is trying to make the world a better place. I think our young people know that they can't wait for the older people to make it happen, because we're not doing it fast enough. That they are coming to the battle of saying, we are going to put our energy, time, talent forward to make this world a better place. So look forward to you hearing this episode with Jamarria Hall. I look forward to the updates that you get to hear about the Million Mask movement and how this work is taking us in lots of places around the world. So thank you for being a part of this journey with us. If you haven't yet made your mask, you can do that at millionmasks.org. You probably hear I picked a busy time. It's like almost rush hour time. There's buses and taxis all over the place here in New York City, but we're about to get it going, and we will see you soon on the next episode. Please, if you haven't already made a mask, you can do that at millionmasks.org. We invite you to get involved right now. As we move toward the end of this year and really kick off our Global Leaders Program in the beginning of January, we ask you to be a part of it as we move into the next chapter of this work. We'll see you soon, folks. Take care, and thanks for being a part of the journey with us. Bye now.
Truly honored to be here. Definitely glad to be a part of the podcast. Definitely a part of this powerful movement. Not just happening with males, but just around. Understanding that this is very, very important conversations to be had on a normal basis.
Oh, man. Well, I'm excited. We've already been we had a little chat before we started, but I am super excited to learn more about you and to have this mask experience with you. Would you tell folks what you want them to know about you? What would be important for them to know as we jump into these conversations?
First off, again, I would like to thank you so much for letting me be on the podcast and just taking off the mask. Definitely glad to be a part of it. But I am Jamarria Hall. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. A lot of people call us All-Time, Older City, and we have other nicknames such as the Murder Cop, other different things. So we're famous for notorious amount of things, but I'm a 23-year-old young man at the age of 16. When I was a junior in high school, I found lost based on the 14th Amendment saying that we have a constitutional right to literacy, which I filed against the state of Michigan, which we actually successfully won, which resulted in a $94 million settlement for the city of Detroit and the District of Detroit Public Schools. So now I'm founder of organization, the Gary B. Fund, furthering that mission. And, just a young youth advocate, making sure that we have a space in equitable education.
That is amazing. Now so we're gonna jump into all of that because I heard it. I heard you. The settlement was won for the city of Detroit, right?
Yes, sir.
And so that hopefully meant that the schools found some way of using those resources to make things better.
As you often know, it's a fight after the fight. So most of the times we're just trying to get in the ring. So having access to how those funds are spent, most of the time the people that are defendants are often in charge of the solutions. So that's another aspect, as you said, we can get into a little bit later.
Okay. All right. Well, I believe in the fight after the fight. I know how that goes. And so we get a chance, you and I, to make these masks. You and I got to meet we met twice. I think we met in person twice. Some people on the show I've never met in person, but I have got to meet twice. I think the first time was in DC at the Well.
Amazing event.
Yeah. That was put on by New Profit. And then you and I just recently got to meet another New Profit event, which was the Oakland, the convening for the EERI cohort. That's the Equitable Education Recovery Initiative. Man, well, I can't think of the I. Was it? Yeah. And so we got to see each other there. You were one of the keynote speakers there. So I was like, I recognize him from somewhere. And then I remembered that I had got to see you at the Well. So I am excited. And at the Well, you were one of the youth. Well, what's your role? What was your role at the Well?
Emerging leaders. I was part of the emerging leaders cohort.
Yeah, the emerging leaders, brother. Well, I want to just say I'm really glad to have you here. And I know that as you are doing amazing things in the world and you are doing amazing things here in this country to make the world better for youth like yourself, but even those younger than you, I appreciate you. So let's jump in. Now, as a guest, you get to decide who goes first. So either you're going to share your mask first or I'm going to share mine first. It's your choice. You get to choose.
I'll go first.
Okay. Okay.
First. I know priorly, I'm going to say it on air. I know priorly I said I wanted you to go first, but I'll go first.
Okay. All right. Hey, I told you, whatever happens is meant to happen, and I'm ready for it. So, all right. Fantastic.
All right. So here's let me see if I can zoom it in a little bit. It says happy, smart, unbothered. I think I chose, first I start off with happy. I think I try to keep a happy demeanor because I know and I feel that it's a lot of down energy within. So I know how powerful happy energy can be, even for myself, but not only for myself, but for the atmospheres in our inner. So understanding that positive energy can not only change your day, but it can also change somebody else's. So just understanding that sometimes once we enter rooms, we can either attract or kind of adjust to the energy that's within, or we can bring in and change the energy. And that could be for good or bad. So understanding that I want to try to at least bring in that positive energy in this many spaces because I know it's lacking very, very much. And then I'll go smart. I don't know. I think I always joke around. I watched Benjamin Buttons when I was very, very young. And The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. So I used to always joke like, and that is me. Like I am one of those people, like I always feel so old. I always have like such this old spirit. And it's like this kind of this wise demeanor almost type thing. So it's kind of like, okay, let me kind of be that person. Even when I'm in a group of my friends or something like that, I always want to try to bring a different perspective to the conversation just because I know we are so smart. And a lot of times, a lot of people are smarter than they kind of really realize because of the spaces how we utilize in our conversations. So just like you said, having conversations about low level topics, sometimes that makes our mind and our vibrational levels become low level. So now we all be thinking on low levels So just rising the level most of the times, like trying to think on the highest level, even though I know the highest level is really a low level also, but just trying to raise that in some sort. And then unbothered, it's always so much. It's always so much going on. It's always, especially with the social media age, like we're going through a new crisis. It's a new issue. It's a new topic. Seems like not only every day, but every hour. If you really wanted to, you could find a different topic, a different issue to kind of be reactionary to. So a lot of us are kind of getting caught up in that propaganda kind of aspect of it. So a lot of times I try to just stay very, very not react, trying to just control what I can control, which I understand that it's me starting off with me and my environment, my atmosphere, and then things I have access to really kind of change. Not saying that I don't want to change other things or I'm not kind of paying attention. I don't read or engage in social media, but oftentimes I don't take it to heart or I take it with a grain of salt, understanding that this is most of the time an issue that they want us to worry about, understanding that it's a lot more other things going on.
Yeah, man. One thing you said, first of all, thank you. Thank you for sharing your mask, the front of the mask. One thing you said about the happy part, I really appreciated it when you said, I try and come into a space. I try and this is the way I heard it. I want to help lift the energy. I want to help bring the positivity. Because if you're not careful, you can take on other energy. But if I come in with a positive, I think I heard someone say it like, it's better to be a thermostat than a thermometer, right? Like a thermostat will come in and set the temperature. And if you come in as a thermometer, you coming in and you're just like following along with whatever is, right? And I think it's important to have a consciousness of both. But I think what do you do when you come into the room? What are you bringing into the room? And I think that I appreciate your words around that. Yeah. I guess I'll go next. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I don't know why I didn't put any eyes on this mask here. I drew a structure of something, and I don't know why I couldn't. I couldn't decide what I wanted the eyes to look like. No idea what I drew today, but that's what I drew. That's the mask I drew. I'm not sure what it was about, but that's the picture. And the words I wrote were serious, passionate, and caring. And I would think the one I want to focus on I think is probably caring and probably serious. And I think so. Right now, there's a young person in my work who's going through it right now. Him and his mom are battling. He ran away last week, and I've been really figuring out how to support in the right amount of support way, right? Like I'm a helper at heart. Like I want to help people. I want to support people and trying to find the right level of help that's needed in the moment, right? And I think, when people are going through it, especially when they're battling with, and then within their families, those emotions run high. And, the adults are emotions are running high because I'm the adult. They should listen to what I say. How dare they? And the young people is like, hey, I'm not a little kid no more, but I'm also, and all these emotions are battling, right? And you're trying to figure out how do you come in and be supportive. And so I think as I think about what's happening really present today in my life, trying to be really caring and care about a lot of people, and also trying to be really mindful of, okay, Ashanti, you gotta charge your own battery first. You got to put your own mask on. You got to put your own, oxygen mask on first. All these analogies and metaphors for taking care of self first. And I'm well known for being on on E of energy. But my phone is plugged in over there, charging very nicely. You know what I'm saying? I take much better care of my phone than I do of my own self. You know what I'm saying? My phone don't get past. If it gets into 20%, if I see the red thing, it's alert. It's like I hear sirens in my brain, don't let the phone die, right? But I could be barely trudging through, and I'm like, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna get through this, and it's like almost a wild thing, right? That I take better care of device in my pocket than I do of my own self sometimes. And so it's really trying to make room for being caring in so many ways that I'm caring, and taking my own health serious and my own well-being serious. And so those are the things that I'm thinking about today.
You really touched on something. It's an artist of mine that's he's a friend of mine. He had one lyric that was very, very, he said, you out here trying to save the world, but you forgot to save yourself. And once I heard that, I'm like, man, you speaking. Like, it was to a point to where I was just playing it over and over, because it was at a point in time to where I was really in that phase of like, okay, I'm trying to take everything head on, whatever changes I'm hearing about, whatever is going on. I want to kind of get to the root. I want to kind of take down whatever systems that they're oppressing us. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? But it's like, slow down, save yourself first. Like, you got to make sure that you are good before you go save everything. So where now I have a strategic schedule to where I'm only going to work during these months. In these months, I'm actually not going to be as active. Not saying that I won't do any work, but I'm making sure that this is me time. This is family time.
Man, I'm glad you learned that you're your age now, so that you don't have to be my age with a gray beard and still trying to figure out, am I going to take some time to rest? Am I going to be embarrassed that I'm taking a picture on this vacation? Because it's like, who are you to be having a vacation? Like, it's the most ridiculous thing that happens, right? And I think not just me. I know that I've talked to people in my life who, they're always posting amazing things that they're doing in their work. And then we'll talk and be like, oh, yeah, I just got back from this trip. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were. He said, yeah, I don't post no pictures of trips. I'm like, and I had to ask the question, why? Like, why not? Like, because I know I don't really. I don't really. It's like, well, it's that feeling of like, if you're an activist, you're supposed to always be activating. You're supposed to be always activisting, right? And how dare you rest? I think that's what Trish Hershey, I want to say, the NAP ministry talks about, right? Like, rest is a part of this work. Like, you must put rest as a part of the agenda, because if you don't, you will burn through. I think Audre Lorde says, it's like, I don't remember the quote exactly, but it's like, if you don't tell people about not only your struggles, about what you've been through, they will, I don't know, I'm butchering it right now, but the context of it is, if you're not clear that the rest is a part of this work, that you must also like tell people when you're going through struggles, you'll be a martyr. You will die, and they will say that you wanted it, that you enjoyed it, that you deserved it, right? And I think those ways of us being mindful of like, oh, okay, rest is not a sign of laziness. Rest is a sign of rejuvenation. And in order to be on a battlefield and set in the fight, you got to take at the end of the round, you go sit in the ring. You go sit down.
Yep.
At the end of the round, you go sit in the corner for a minute or two, you catch your breath, and then you get some coaching and you go back in, right? And I think sometimes we operate in life like we're in the fight, but we never take a break. We never get no coaching. We never take time to have somebody from a new perspective help show us that, you missed this thing right here. There, he's doing this to you. This is what's happening. Like, take a moment to get perspective. We're just kind of like, I'm gonna just go 12 rounds right to go, back to back, no break. And I think we sometimes may think that that's the way that we should do it. And I don't know that that's always the best way,
Definitely fully understand that aspect. I mean, I feel like sometimes, almost like a little kid, when you're a little kid, you don't want to go to sleep because you feel like you're going to miss something. I think sometimes that's how we are. We're on a level like, okay, I want to make this change. Change have to happen now. So again, once we're so reactionary, it seems like it's always so much work that needs to get done right now. Once we know it's a lot of important issues. There are so many issues, but is a couple days going to change now then? I mean, it may in some aspect, but you getting that energy to go at it a little bit harder, other than just at 50%. Now you're at 20%. Now you're at a deficit. You're borrowing from other people. Now you're, hold on, let me get some of your energy. So I think, sometimes we get into a space to where we feel like we're missing out on something. We're missing out on opportunities. We're missing out on just the atmosphere of it. And we forget about that relaxation piece.
Man. Well, man, let's jump to the back. You're going first, so you ready to jump into the back of the mask?
Yeah, I got you. On the back.
All right. Here we go. We're jumping into round 2. This is round 2, okay?
Loss, anxiety, and worry. And I ain't draw on the front of their back because when I say my drawing is terrible, like my art is terrible. so I just at least wanted to try to get the words. I'm gonna try to paint a picture at least with my responses to the words.
Okay.
So I will go with lost because not necessarily lost and don't know necessarily where I am, but sometimes not knowing where we're going as a whole. And sometimes that can be as a small, as a collective as my family. That can be as a neighborhood or a community. That can be sometimes as a state or a city or something like that. So looking at different aspects of how things are happening in small pockets and then understanding kind of and being in the midst of civilization, which is the masses, and understanding the conversations that we had and how oblivious to some ideas and some aspects that we are. So it's like not really lost as an individual, but kind of lost as like a human race aspect. So I know I'm a part of that race. So it's like if one of us isn't free, all of us aren't free. So kind of in that mindset of that lost aspect, so how can we kind of really truly be liberated and kind of found? And that found comes when we find ourselves. And I think conversations like that, like this, help us get to that point because now we can kind of take off the mask and now we can get to kind of some of those core roots and kind of build consensus of what we're all kind of dealing with, especially with this backside. I think the backside is actually the most important side of it, which I know you also know. But I think that lost aspect, that's kind of what I get. Then the anxiety, I think that also plays a part from the lost aspect of just kind of not knowing. I think sometimes I feel like I can get to the root of a lot of things, of just kind of deep diving and just taking a deep dive. I may not come out to whatever perspective that has been given, but I can kind of put myself in that position to kind of come up with a solution or kind of play almost images within my head to kind of feel like, okay, what would I do from the information that I know from these different characters and these different perspectives? And now I'm trying to play the situation out all different perspectives. And when I think about the future, I try to play it out in so many different perspectives and it almost gets scary once you start to try to factor in some things. So just getting anxiety around trying to be a part of that change. But it's definitely eased out a lot because I understand that first off, it's not one source, it's not one person, it's one area, it's not one thing, but understanding that all things add up to that moment. So also understanding how it's just like it's a counter effect. It's also a approach to that. So understanding that all these small things will lead up to what we can really get to. And then the last one, the worry, I think they all kind of play into the same aspect of just kind of being worried about the future, being worried about my peers within this space, understanding that youth are 1/3 of the population. So then hearing and being in rooms where people are constructing the future for them and seeing what this future is being constructed like without them not only not being at the table, but being excluded and really oppressed within this operation and thinking about the advancement. So I think all of them kind of just play into a part of that future aspect.
Thank you. Thank you. I resonate with that a lot. And I'll share my back and then maybe it will make more sense. So yeah, here we go. So here's what I wrote on the back. I wrote, my brother, a lot going on with him right now, fear. And right here at the bottom, I wrote self-doubt first, and then I was like, yeah, that's not the one that's most prevalent today. I wrote worry as like the one that's like really like present right this moment. And the worry is about my brother. So my brother, he's living at a assistant living center, like a boarding care facility. That's where he has been. And apparently the other day they discharged him. My brother has schizophrenia. He has mental health disability. And so right now I got a call from a care center that they had got in touch with him, and just so much stuff is happening. So in the back of my mind, while I'm I work every day and trying to help youth around the world and trying to build this global movement to help people realize they're not alone, as I'm constantly trying to serve the people in my community. And then in the back, right here, behind the smile, behind the focused, gaze, is this worry, what's happening with him, And so, I grew up early, I helped raise my siblings and did a lot of nurturing to help them, while we were all growing up. But I was the oldest and I had a lot of responsibility to help them. And I feel so deeply affected by it, So there's a lot of worry in there, a lot of worry. So right now, basically, if they discharge a person who has schizophrenia and that's their place to live, they basically have let this person be homeless, right? They've basically said, okay, go out and figure it out yourself. And it just seems like so inhumane, and knowing that he's an adult too, right? So he has a part to play in it too. But oh man. So anyway, that's what's happening in the behind the scenes, and in the moments when I let myself just kind of get out of the computer and off the phone and off the work. I'm wondering where he's at and how he's doing. So, and the fear, you watch movies all the time and you see thing on the news all the time. Somebody's family member was found or walking on the freeway, or just all kinds of stuff happening in our community. And I just, I have this this lingering fear, and I try to think positive. I want to see the light at the end of this tunnel. I want him to find his sobriety and I also know I can't do it for him. I'm smart enough to know I can't do it for him. And I also know that it's his story. And so I'm a part of the story, but I'm a recipient of whatever decisions he makes, right? I'm a watcher from the sidelines, and so those are things that are really present right now, I think, that I stand in. And so that's the right now present behind the mask that I'm carrying, just a heavy load for my brother. And for that young man I told you about also, that, who's, 17, trying to figure it out. He's an amazing young man. And I really hope that this little temporary situation with his family doesn't derail him, from not only taking care of his finishing and graduating. So, those are the things as a mentor, as a person who grew up as a person who cares and nurtures, it's okay, get back to work, Ashanti, we get back to work. We don't have time to be ruminating over those things, right? I need to be back focused. I got a grant due. I got this to do. And so, but when I get a chance in these conversations, I get to just take a moment and just say, yeah, those are things that are happening behind the scenes. So that's the back of my mask today.
I mean, I truly appreciate you sharing that. I think it's not even just your brother's story, and it's not just the young man's. I think it's a bigger part to play that's outside of us, because we know we aren't dealing with broken systems. We're dealing with working systems. So we know even in certain instances how it's easier to get or go down the path of doom or oppression than it is to truly get help and to get out of that situation. So I think it's so many of us that are dealing with similar situations. I know even myself, I can relate to both and understanding and having relationships, and then how common it has become and how much it is happening on the normal, to where a lot of us have that family member or have that close inner family member that's going through the same thing, or maybe a best friend that's kind of going through it that we're trying to help pull out. when it's a larger issue on a larger scale of that it's not truly being addressed.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I want to know, I guess I would be curious, as first of all, thank you for being a part of this process, right? Thank you for being a part of this process. And what do you believe, as a young person who is advocating for young people and you're advocating for communities, what are you hearing from young people? I mean, even young men, I'll say let's start there, maybe just because that's context of this show, but what are you hearing from them about what they need, what they want? Like what are they missing that gets in the way of them feeling like they can thrive, right? And not just merely survive.
I would say that the key aspect is opportunity. A lot of youth, because it's first off so many. So then when we think about even the aspects of, as we were talking about earlier, kind of shifting the mindset. So when we think about us telling young men to go get a job. So when we're raising our children, we're telling our children to go get careers. To where we're trying to make everyone come to what the resources is. Because there is a lot and a surplus of resources out there that's specifically for them. But how is it being presented? And who do they truly want to be a part of this? A lot of people and a lot of programs are now cherry picking their candidate. So I think the aspect of being lost out, being unheard, and I think now it's not even more so that or it being actually said, but you can see it when the pain is shown in multiple different ways. When you see uprisings or revolutionary brawls and fights, when you see this pandemic or opioids and of this self-medication that's going on at one of the largest fast rates because they feel like that there's no way out. So I kind of don't want to be in this reality space to where they feel like most youth say the government. They don't say our government. Or they say the schools. They don't say our school. Or they say the house. They say the because they don't feel no connection or no a lot of the autonomy from young people it's being taken. So now even the imagination is being suppressed. So now the access is also being suppressed. So when we're seeing this evolution and we're seeing this growth, a lot of times youth are doing it without help and despite the system and despite the programs that be, because they had to do it on their own. So now when we see this aspect of youth not truly respecting or knowing how to respect the elders, it comes from a place of almost resentment because the elders didn't show any support when they were looking for it in the aspect, or maybe that support was given out of a place that may have been pure, but oftentimes times have changed. So you're trying to re-implement something that may be outdated. So now they feel like they don't have the connection to the other groups. So I feel like that just the opportunity aspect to just be seen and to be important within not only process, but it's in life in general. Because, again, as I stated at the speech, we often think about the land as a heritage from our elders, our ancestors, which it definitely is, but also understanding that we are borrowing from the youth and the unborn because we have to leave it to them. So, especially in this education room, I think that's the biggest thing.
That's really powerful. To speak, to be seen, and to be supported. I mean, I think there was you said another one that I don't remember. I'll try to write down, but what was that for you? Because you have decided that you're taking on this mantle of going after and fighting for others. Where were you? Where did you feel the most seen and the most heard and the most understood that gave you the courage, the wisdom, the desire to fight for others, right?
I think it was something that first off was installed in me at a young age by my mother. She always taught me to have my own mindset and that I was capable and that I was smart. So even though at that time she didn't even have a high school diploma, I still believed in her because how much she believed within me. So I think the other aspect would be basketball. I played sports all throughout my life, but I started playing basketball when I was 2 years old. So it was something that was kind of not only a safe haven or a place for me to kind of get out of reality, but it was also a place for me to connect with others. And then since I had kind of good, I won't brag at all, but it was kind of good. So a lot of people kind of clinged on to that, to even in certain environments within the neighborhood, the aspect within the inner city to where the gangbangers or the violent people within the community will kind of gather around certain people that they thought would have some type of hope to get out of the community. Like, we making sure that you're not a part of these different aspects. We're making sure that nothing's going on, that you're not a part of this, that you're not doing this, that you're not doing that, because you got a future. You're the key for all of us. So that was something that I really kind of carried on my shoulders as a young man, because it was like, okay, I'm not just doing it for me, I'm doing it for my mom, I'm doing it for my sister, I'm doing it for my community. And then that basketball aspect of just actually getting some type of success within it. So it's like, okay. And even the way I think how I played the game, how I thought about the game, it was very unique. Like, I came with a team first approach, which I knew I could score very, very easy. But it was like, I always wanted to play with my team, because I understood if I played and I gave them the ball and they scored, they also want to play better on defense. So I knew I grew up with the defense wins championship. So I'm like, okay, if I'm the point guard, how can I lead my team to be the best productive but upset? Even if I have to put myself on the back burner. And I think that kind of grew into that passion. And even the warrior from the lawsuit actually came to our game in our basketball team. Is how we actually met. So it was kind of like going from one journey to another, kind of like passing the torch. Little did I know at that moment.
Oh, that's great. You said that was one of your mentors?
No, it was kind of like me passing the torch from one career to another. Like, I always thought I was going to be a basketball player, but now I'm in this realm of activism and kind of doing it.
Got it. So then there was something within you was like, it's time. It's like something like the chrysalis, right? The caterpillar, right? It goes from this form where it transforms, right? And that transform. Who knows what's happening behind the scenes of that cocoon? But sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense, right? It's like, how did you go from this to that, right? And I think that sometimes it could be easily on the outside, people could totally miss the work that went into it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, listen, I want to, here's a couple of things are in my mind right now. I think you and I have talked about what it would look like to support the young people in your community where you are. And I think I hope that this movement can support. And I know that we have this training coming up in December. I'll talk to you more offline about it, but I'll give you more details about it. But whatever this next chapter is, I don't know when your season of rest is and when your season of work is, but let's make sure we get in touch offline. And I want to figure out how our work ever forward can support you in this chapter of, wherever the pivots are coming. Because, imagine having many pivots along the journey of inflection points of where I'm heading next and what am I doing next. And so if our work can serve in that way, if something that we're doing can add value to your next chapter, please let us know. Please let me know. I would love to support you.
Likewise. We definitely are going to connect afterwards, see what we can kind of put together. But it's, for the most part, for the community, for the youth, and not just only in my local community, but the young community. We got to bridge this gap and start these as regular conversations. So seeing how we can create a platform and kind of really bring this to light. And because this plays a part into it. This is a part of literacy. This is part of education, the comprehension of ourselves and knowledge itself. I think that's one of the most important aspects of it. I think a lot of times we try to read the world, but we forget to read ourselves. So we ask so many questions about everything else and everything and how we're part of the world. We haven't found out how we're part of it. So just turning that aspect and turning that page, but definitely figuring out how we can collaborate on other aspects. So again, I'm just honored to be a part of the podcast, to be able to take off the mask and for you to be to share with me and to be a part also of my journey. This is definitely one of the first conversations I had like this, especially on the podcast platform, but just kind of sharing and taking off the mask. So it's a great experience. I know I had a great conversation, a great time. It's always great chatting with you, Mr. Branch. So, again, I just want to truly, truly thank you.
Jamarria, I am thankful for you, brother. So is there if I don't know how, what organizations you were with, but is there anything that you want to tell the folks of where they can follow you, find you, or support something that you're working on right now? Just let them know. And then I will put all this in the show notes. Let folks know if that's of interest to you, to how people can support the work you're doing.
Yes, sir. All my social media hashtags are Jamarria Hall. That's JAMARRIA Hall, HALL. And please be on the lookout. I am starting the Gary B Institute, so where I'll be not only creating but implementing different pedagogies and platforms, and hopefully a couple of curriculums and criteria can come out of this. Really kind of moving forward the process of the lawsuit. So definitely please be on the lookout for that, which is definitely going to be coming soon near you.
Well, we'll put all that in the show notes. We'll make sure, folks, we'll put the links to any of that information in there, folks. Jamarria, brother, thank you for being a part of the Taking Off the Mask podcast. I'm so thankful, and I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you. Those search in the back, they look amazing, man. I think I might need to give me one of them. With them on the website or something.
You just tell me. Wait, once we hang up here, you're gonna tell me your size, and I'm gonna just get one in the mail to you. So, folks, look, Jamarria and we share our masks here publicly, but you can do yours anonymously at millionmask.org. That's millionmask.org, and we invite you to be a part of this movement with us. Tell any young person you know who could be inspired by these words to check out this episode, and we'll see you soon, folks. Take care. Jamarria, man, brother, I appreciate you, and we'll be talking real soon. The Taking Off the Mask podcast is produced by Ryan Louie and graphics by Kelly Wong. Guests are managed by Dan Paloma, and the podcast is edited by Samuel Matingo. We'd like to thank everyone who's been a part of the creation of this podcast, and for every guest that has been a part of the show, you are now a part of the Taking Off the Mask family. The Taking Off the Mask podcast is brought to you by the Ever Forward Club. And if you like what you've heard today, please subscribe, write a 5-star review, and share this with someone. We look forward to having more conversations that matter. And please remember, there is more to you than anybody can see by just looking at you.